Hello everyone, my name is Mike and this is the Bored Cyborg. Shazam! Oh! Welcome back to yet another review. Today I'm talking about Shazam. A movie that I didn't have much interest in seeing, really. The only interest, really, that I had for it was due to the fact that I've been watching, over the last year, The Adventures of Captain Marvel, which is from the 30s, and it's a serial, or the early 40s. It's a serial about Captain Marvel, aka Shazam. And before Captain Marvel, they couldn't call him Captain Marvel anymore. I don't know really the details. But so I was interested in Shazam in that sense, and especially after watching Aquaman, I really started getting excited for some of these DC movies, because Wonder Woman's awesome, Aquaman blew me away, which I haven't talked about on the channel, but it blew me away. I really loved it. And Shazam comes along, and what do you know? It completely blows me away, even more so than Wonder Woman and Aquaman. Shazam is about a little boy named Billy Batson, who got separated from his mother, not quite at birth, but when he was very young, so like 3 or 4 years old, maybe a little older, 5 years old max. And they got separated while they were at a carnival or a circus sort of thing, and it follows him basically trying to find his mother. Now, where the superhero aspects come in the very beginning of the film, we get a wonderful origin story of the villain. And it follows this young boy who gets zapped, essentially, into this mythological, magical realm. And Digimon Honsu, it plays the wizard with a huge beard and a robe and quintessential wizard. And he tells the boy that, you have to have great will if you want to take on the responsibilities that I have the ability to bestow on you. And so the boy fails the test, and he's zapped back into reality, which happens to be in a car while his older brother and his father are all arguing. This is the first 5 minutes of the film, by the way, so I'm not giving much away. Things don't go so well for the car ride. The little boy is bitter that he wants another chance to prove himself, but he doesn't get one. And this kid ends up being our main villain. So they have the villain origin story in the very beginning, which I loved. It's very well done, succinct, to the point. We know what the villain's motivations are. He's bitter, and he wants another chance, and when he doesn't get it, he goes on the side of evil. Now, Billy Batson, this is where he comes into play. So essentially, he gets the same chance that this young boy named Thaddeus, by the way, is a name. He gets the same chance to prove himself, to prove his will. Now, this is a street tough kid in Philly, street smart. He knows the streets. He's surviving. He's an orphan that's ran away from all these orphanages 5 or 6 times, and he knows how to navigate the streets. And so he pops up in this realm, and he passes the test, thus becoming Shazam, or Captain Marvel. They never say his name in the movie, by the way, which is a running gag, and it's really funny. My favorite is Mr. Sparkly Fingers. I think that's what they call him. Mr. Sparkly Fingers. So essentially what this story is all about, Billy Batson as a boy has the ability to change into the quintessential essence, the perfect version of himself. That is his superpower. So he's a kid, he says Shazam, and he becomes Zachary Levi from Chuck as Shazam. I'm going to call him the superhero Shazam. Okay, so that is the setup of the story. The funny part about this is that every time Billy Batson, who's a teenager, by the way, 15, 16 years old, if that, every time he says Shazam, he becomes this quintessence of himself, the perfect image of himself, super buff, just sculpted. He becomes that man, but he retains his youth. So he doesn't change into a different person. He's still Billy Batson. And the way it switches back and forth between these two characters, they had such good chemistry. They must have worked together quite a bit to get the character down on both ends. Zachary Levi in this movie is absolutely phenomenal. And the kid who plays Billy Batson, Angel something Angel, has such a classic look to him. Such a 50s sort of classic Americana sort of look to him, and it works so well for Billy Batson. And the chemistry between these two characters as they switch back and forth between the goofy ass Zachary Levi, and the kid. Of course, like I said, they're the same character despite the age difference. The way they balance it is phenomenal. This film's directed by David Sandberg, by the way, who did Lights Out, which I haven't seen, admittedly. I've seen the original short film. This is his first really big, like, superhero blockbuster movie. He did a feature-length adaptation of his film Lights Out, but this is his opportunity to show his chops, and f***ing hell does he show his chops. This film is directed to the T. Honestly, to the T. I don't really have any complaints. As I'm watching a movie, you know, my score wanes and rises and dips as it goes along. This film just maintained from jump a near perfect score for me. And I gave it a 4.5 because I just don't have much wrong with it. There's not much wrong with it. So, what do I love about the film? Despite the performances, which are phenomenal. For one, the cinematography is fantastic. There are some really great shots. There's one where Thaddeus, as an adult, is going through a door. The camera's sweeping one way, and the door's coming the other way. It's hard to describe. And then Thaddeus disappears into to another dimension. And the way the camera just sweeps by, it's perfectly done. So many great shots, and what is so awesome about the cinematography and the atmosphere of this film, like I said, it takes place on the streets of Philly, which isn't, you know, there are parts of Philly that are fine, but Philly is a pretty rough city. You know, you gotta be pretty thick-skinned, as Billy Batson's character is, or Billy Batson is. And what I love is the darkness. This film takes place mostly at night, but the colors, the juxtaposition, the dichotomy between the vibrant color of adult Shazam's suit, set against the backdrop of the dark, brooding sort of city, is so vibrant and so well done. It really pops. It's like the gritty underworld of Philly, and then you have this vibrant, vivacious, and goofy-ass superhero with a bright yellow and red costume and a fluffy cape. I mean, it's so over the top, and the juxtaposition, or I should say the dichotomy, is just nailed on the head. They master the aesthetic of this film. It is perfect. It's also worth mentioning another set of main characters here. Essentially, Billy Batson's been hopping around from orphanage to orphanage. He lands in this one orphanage with this really lively couple that are cracking jokes, and they have like 6 kids in the house, and they're their foster parents, and they're really cool, and you get the sense that Billy's gonna be just fine here. He meets all of the other foster kids in the home, which all turn out to be supporting characters. There's a little girl, there's a chubby Spanish kid, I forget his name, I forget all their names to be quite honest. There's Freddie, who's a handicapped kid, and there's like a teenager female character who is closer to Billy Batson's age. And I believe another character that I'm forgetting? All of them have such wonderful chemistry together, so natural, and each of them are so very, very different. They're all orphans, or not anymore, they have a home, but they all come from that background. So they're all damaged children. And it's done so well because they're all so very different. And this film has so much heart, guys. It is such a heartfelt story about family and about what it means to grow up and let go of certain things that have been holding you back. Things that may seem imperative to you, but aren't. And I'm talking about the story with Billy Batson and his mother. I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to spoil it. But essentially, in the end, Billy Batson finds his home in this orphanage. And it's a beautiful story. Look, I have goosebumps. Hair sticking up. It's a beautiful story that is just told so remarkably well and so aesthetically well. There's a lot of visual storytelling too, which is just wonderful. Just expressions and slight camera movements. And it just really gets those themes better than most films that I've seen. Family and dealing with heartbreak and moving on. And it's really a film about all those things. Mark Strong plays the villain, the grown-up Thaddeus, who has some incredibly cool powers. This film is so refreshing in so many ways, and this villain is just that. He doesn't have superpowers. He gets these powers, basically, the 7 deadly sins, essentially, live in his eye. This, like, magical eye, right? And he unleashes them, but can't get rid or can't expel one of them because it's it's his sin. It's the one that he's guilty of. Envy. And so all these creatures, which are CG, but they have a very practical gargoyle-esque look to them, and they do his bidding, Thaddeus's bidding. Now, when these creatures are outside of his eye, he becomes vulnerable. So it creates a really cool dynamic. Mark Strong knocks it out of the park. It's a very stoic performance, a very reserved performance, not over the top in any way, but just a very solid performance. That's the way I describe it. Very even, very solid, and he does a great job, to be quite honest. And the humor in this film is perfectly balanced with the action and with the poignancy that the story intrinsically has. The humor, I mean, it all pretty much rests on Zachary Levi, who I've never seen Chuck, but goddamn, this guy is fucking remarkable. This guy is fantastic. I mean, his comedic timing, the fact how he retains the childishness of Billy Batson in this incredibly buff and sculpted character, and he's just got this loose feel to him, and it's just the transitions between Billy Batson and him are seamless. It's really impressive. Of course, Zachary Levi, when he's on screen, all of the humor basically comes from his character and his timing and some of his lines of dialogue and just the situations he gets in when he's conjuring up the balls to become a hero, because at first he's like, well, f*** that. Actually, the first scene that he has an opportunity to be a hero, he cowers behind Freddy, the handicapped kid, as Shazam, he cowers behind him because he's still the mentality of Billy Batson, and then he does his best to quell the situation, which he ends up doing in the most awkward and childish and ridiculous way. And the story arc, the character arc with Billy Batson, there are like multiple arcs going on too, which is really, really impressive. So you got Billy Batson as a kid who's trying to find his mother, that arc, and then you've got Billy Batson and Shazam, the arc with Billy Batson becoming Captain Marvel, or Shazam, becoming a hero. And he doesn't become a hero till the very end of the film. Spoilers. All throughout, he's stumbling to become the hero that he has the potential to be. And it's also a story about that. The fact that we all have the potential to become something better than our former selves. Who we were yesterday. Always thrive to be better than you were yesterday today. And that is sort of another theme with the film. So it has so many uplifting and heartfelt themes going on, and it just knocks it out of the park, guys. I love this movie. Near perfect, one of my favorite films of the year. I will be talking about it again at the end of the year when I do a top 10 of 2019. What else can I say? Check this out if you haven't seen it. I love the world DC is building. It also has a Superman and Batman cameo, which ties into the lore, and Freddy's character, who I really haven't even talked about. The finale to this film is wonderful. It's just, man, I love this movie. It's a 4.5 out of 5. It might even be a 5 on a second viewing. One of my favorite films of the year. One of my favorite superhero films in years. I love what DC's doing. Check out Shazam. I just want to thank you guys for checking out my review of Shazam, a film that I was so pleasantly surprised. This is why we love film, right? We watch these movies and they just totally floor us, blow us away with their storytelling, with their visuals, with their humor. Shazam did that for me. I did not think I was going to like this movie as much as I did. I thought I was going to end up liking it because of all the great things I've heard, but it touched me on a personal, deep level, and it really got me. So hopefully it did for you guys too. I'd love to know what you thought of Shazam. Feel free to leave that in the comments below, and we'll get a little discussion rolling. But if you did enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, as well as the little bell for notifications. Anyway, guys, I will see you next time. Bored Cyborg, out. Shazam! Aw, man.